You could start your law firm. You could find the business name. You could have the domain. You could have the technology. You could have the business model. You could be really good at practicing law. But how do you get clients? Like, that's a really important thing.
Welcome to A Different Practice. I'm your host, Lauren Lester, and I'm obsessed with all things business, well-being, and optimizing the practice of law for solo and small firm lawyers. I started my solo practice right out of law school, built it from the ground up, and now work 4 days a week while earning well over 6 figures. I'm here to share tangible, concrete tips and resources for ditching the legal profession's antiquated approach and building a law practice that optimizes growth and enjoyment. Think of this as grabbing coffee with your work bestie, mixed with all the stuff they didn't teach you in law school about how to run a business. Pull up a seat, grab a cup, and get ready to be encouraged and challenged. This is A Different Practice. Hey y'all, we are back with part 2 of my conversation with Mathew Kerbis that we did on a LinkedIn Live a couple of months ago. If you missed it, go back and listen to episode 13, which is going to be the first part of our conversation. That way you're sure not to miss anything. We pick up here with a conversation about websites and marketing and continue to talk about the specifics of running your own law firm, give y'all examples of what we use, and continue to talk about how to build a practice that you love. Here is part 2.
I mean, there's so much good stuff there, and it's hard to like so for my website, like I use a no-code builder called card.co, CARRD.co. And I used to have WordPress websites, not for my law firm, but for my podcast and for some other things. And I loved Card so much that I've moved everything over to Card. I have like a dozen something websites on there. Some of them just for fun, like I'm a wedding officiant. I haven't marketed that. I became an officiant for my sister-in-law to marry her to her husband, and like people know that I do it, and so like I made a website. So I like made things official, right? So I have a website for that. But like I really love the Card website builder. It's $19 a year, not a month.
Wow.
A year for SSL certificates for up to 10 websites for custom domains and pro template access. I think I pay like $49 a year because I want slightly more advanced no-code features on the building side of things, but it's not optimized for blogging. And so if your content strategy is blog, you're going to need to go with like a WordPress or like a website builder that's designed around that. I am a solopreneur. I can never compete with that, in my opinion, for my space, since the way that I'm tackling legal services, I don't have a niche. My price is my niche, right? I'm $20 a month. Accessibility is my niche. So because like affordable lawyer is like a hard thing to compete on for SEO purposes, all of what would normally be my blog content is actually a subscription benefit. When somebody subscribes to my law to my as a client, they get access to my knowledge base, which I'm actually in the process of moving over to Notion to use to have like my knowledge base there. Right now it's just integrated with my client portal and Google Drive, which doesn't look great, and it's not really great. So I'm building out a knowledge base on Notion for that reason. So but like, I mean, there's so many other tools and so many other types of things you could do. So like, that's how I've decided to tackle that, because Card is not good for blogging, and I don't feel like I could compete in that game, and my time I have to spend in other places. Time blocking is something I use right from the get-go that I think people would benefit from knowing about as they start their own law firm. Is I have a master list of everything I need to do daily, weekly, monthly, annually, and then as client issues come in, whether it's review this contract or negotiate this, I add that in another section in my master list. And then at the end of every day, I have time blocked. After we put the kid down, after I've spent time with my spouse, I go back to my computer and I time block my next day. And so I don't use Acuity, I use Calendly, but I put everything in my calendar, personal things too. I got to, the days I'm picking up the kid from daycare, everything goes in the calendar. Time with family goes in the calendar. So I can't be double booked ever. And I set up rules in Calendly where no one could schedule time with me within 24 hours. I mean, I think it's technically
Same.
It's 16 hours. It's whatever. The moment I sit down at my computer at 8:30 p.m., nothing can be scheduled with me the next day. And so I can plan out every single day in advance. I did a version of this when I was billing by the hour at my last job, where I put stuff on a whiteboard, but it kind of fell apart with the pandemic. But like, this is my version of it now as a solopreneur, is time blocking. And nobody's perfect. Like I don't stick to it perfectly, right? But at least I have intention to do something and manage my time effectively because I'm not billing my time. And so it's important to really control your time super well. Lauren, are you a true solo? Do you use virtual assistants? Do you have any staff? How do you handle all that?
I am a true solo. I have no virtual assistants, no staff. I am looking at bringing on some contractors. So that's kind of my toe dip into the expansion because I really do like being a solo. I don't want to have employees, and I've really leaned into tech to be able to do some of those admin things that just take away from my lawyering time or to help myself become more efficient. But contractors, I am looking at. I did have an assistant for a hot minute right before the pandemic, and that I feel was a little more me feeling like I needed to have employees to be a legit law firm. And so I did it. She was lovely. I mean, I loved her, but I also was like, what? I don't see the benefit here. And I'm always really cognizant of cost and expenses and overhead. And, the pandemic hit and she needed to have a more full-time job because she was only working part-time with me. So it really worked out great for her. But when she left, it was kind of like, did I really get the benefit out of this? And so I kind of had to work on that limiting belief that having an employee was what made me legit. And ever since then, I've said, no, that doesn't work for me. So I really try and, like I said, use tech wherever I can and just have it be me, which really means, all the money that comes in is mine, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. And then for outsourcing a little bit, I mean, are you looking at like law clerk? Like, is that like where you're looking, or are you trying to hire your own like freelance attorneys? Like, how are you exactly are you outsourcing?
Yeah, no, so about 6 months ago, really about a year ago, but 6 months ago, I really committed to it. I just decided I wasn't doing any more contested work, especially in the family space. It was leading me towards burnout, to be quite frank. And so I had stopped doing it. And then in the last 6 months have recognized that on a personal level, it's been a great decision. On a business level, I've probably lost some potential sales that I would have had easily in the bank, because I was like, listen, if you get to a hearing, I'm not your gal anymore. And they really wanted someone to be there the whole stretch, which I totally understand. And so in just talking with a colleague over coffee one day, kind of the idea sparked, and she said, I like doing hearings, and it's kind of like storytelling. And I looked at her like, you had 6 heads, because that's not in my space. But I thought, I really like, she practices similarly to how I do. We have same values. She also offers flat fees. And in Colorado, we can't do any referral payments at all. And so I thought, what if I brought her in as a contractor to handle if I have a case that goes to hearing, and I can easily transition to her and be there as a support. So that's kind of where it came out of. It was just kind of talking with someone. So I'm taking it super slow, just one contractor right now to kind of work out all the kinks of that process. But I'm hopeful that it'll be successful and help me kind of expand the business a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I guess we'll have to have another one of these in the future about like lessons learned from working with contractors. Freelance lawyering, it's called, per diem attorneys for like court appearances. Like there's whole jargon like around that. I know when I got started, since I only had like a couple of clients, I was on Law Clerk Legal as a freelancer to like supplement the work. And I think that's an important thing to talk about. Is one of the ways I decided I would be comfortable leaving a firm to starting my own practice is because of platforms that exist like that. Priori is one, Law Trades is one. With Priori and Law Trades, I found that a lot of the clients on there, if it's like in-house or like they're looking at former or current like big law attorneys who are moonlighting. So like depending on where you are, like that might not be right for you. But with all the layoffs with big law, that could be perfect for you if you have that pedigree. But like lawclerk.legal is a really great place for finding extra work, picking up some extra work. And the reason I kind of stopped doing it is because they were really pushing their subscription model, which their subscription was like subscribe to law clerk freelance lawyer hours. And like I had to track my time. And I was just like, I started my own law firm based on the subscription model. It's hard for me to like bill time, and all the flat fee work ended up being really like underpaid work. So I was on there for a little bit. But then I found that I really just need to double down on my efforts to like get clients and like get out there, but in the future, like when I need to hire freelance attorneys, I'll probably use Law Clerk, and because they like do everything for you. It's like working with an agency, right? And there's benefits to outsourcing that part of and being an employer, even of contractors. But going back to the getting clients thing, Lauren, you could start your law firm. You could find the business name, you could have the domain, you could have the technology, you could have the business model. You could be really good at practicing law. But how do you get clients? Like, that's a really important thing. Like, and if I could tell you, and I do this when I go speak to local high schools and colleges, I'm like, be nice to everyone. Like, you never know who's going to send you a client in the future. If nobody's mean to you, you're the one who's being mean to everyone else, and go and apologize, because they could send you business in the future. I've had people from elementary school that after going solo, they referred people to me. And so, like, be nice to everyone. But if you can't, everyone's a potential person who could send you business. You've already started the business, or you're about to start the business. Like, what are some ways that you've been able to actually, like, generate business?
Yeah. So I think the first one is getting really clear on your message, which took me a while to do. But once I did, it made marketing a lot easier. So it's sort of like when you're at a networking event or talking to someone or in the grocery line, like being able to say what your business does and what problem it solves in 15 seconds is really helpful. So like you said, Matthew, that person can remember it. So then when they come across the person who's getting a divorce, starting a business, whatever, like, oh, you got to go talk to so-and-so. I met him at the grocery line. He's fantastic. So really getting clear on your messaging and making it really short and concise is helpful. And then for me, again, I leaned into the web development. I still think that having a website, focusing some on SEO is really important. But what I've really found to get the most benefit recently is video. Posting videos on YouTube. And for me in particular, I love TikTok. I know it gets a lot of slack, but I think it's a latent market for attorneys. I think it's a hugely untapped market that has a lot of potential. Our podcast that launched today on A Different Practice is all about TikTok. So if you're curious, go check that out. I go through all of the potential and even some tips to get started. But that's where I think marketing really has become, is creating that know, like, and trust factor in a scalable way, which is yes, going to be consults, but that's a one-on-one thing. And there's only so many you can do in a day and continue to run the business. Whereas you can set up your phone in front of you and say, hi, I'm Lauren. I'm an attorney in Colorado. I offer affordable flat fee rates for divorce. And, here's the first 3 things if you wanted to file for divorce. Just becoming a source of knowledge and showing your authority by providing information only, no legal advice. Because I know that freaks everybody out, understandably, but just being a source of information and putting yourself out there in that way, I have found in the last 6 months to a year has had a lot of ROI for no, I don't pay any money. It's literally my phone and I'm just talking to it. So talk about keeping, overhead low. I think that's really a great opportunity for attorneys, especially when you're starting out and you have some extra time because the client work isn't coming in yet, is to lean into those and get your name out there that way.
Yeah. I mentioned the freelancer, like, educational sort of content videos, like live events that I'm doing. They're like semi-private live events. You have to join the meetup group, but it's free to join. I just did a talk on just contract negotiations. And that was a huge hit, and I actually thrived in it. I've done like a dozen talks now. So I've committed to weekly talks, discussion topics. It's more of a conversation, but that one ended up just being me and one other person. So I ended up doing a lot of the talking because they were a 3D motions graphic artist who's a freelancer. And so she had some really good questions for me that I didn't think of for my talk. But I was like, this is so gold and I record them too in addition to live streaming. I'm going to chop up some of this stuff and come up with a whole content strategy just around contract negotiations, which is not legal advice. It's not your contract. I'm talking in broad scopes. Here are some clauses that you should have in your contract. Here are some ways to make them either favorable for you or to make them mutual, which I'm all about collaborative law. And so let's make things mutual. It's not let's grow the pie. There's no need to split the pie, right? So let's grow the pie. Let's make a bigger pie and let's all eat pie. Okay.
That sounds awesome.
There's a takeaway from today. And I listened to that episode this morning on TikTok, and I was like, all right, I wasn't thinking about TikTok for this contract negotiations content strategy that I'm building, but you know what? Because of Lauren's podcast episode, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to incorporate it.
Nice.
So at least you've inspired one person. But I agree. I like when a little bit of the advertising spend that I did was Google Ads, and 90-something% of the clicks on my ad were actually in YouTube. They weren't in search. They were in YouTube. People are going to YouTube and they're going to video for their legal questions. And who do they get? Legal Eagle talking about news coverage. There's another woman who does it. I can't remember her name right now. I am subscribed. I actually think I unsubscribed from her channel because she posts so much and like I had to get it out of my feed. But she's also just doing like news coverage from a legal perspective. So and then there might be one other attorney, like Attorney Tom or something, who's doing that. And so there's 3 lawyers who are doing legal news coverage. Like they're just talking about the news from a legal perspective, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers. I think Legal Eagle's got millions. And so I don't know if like that's driving business to them because I think they're like making money through like traditional like YouTuber ways, like sponsorships and stuff. But people are going to YouTube to try to get legal questions answered. And so like I need to invest more time in making video content for a YouTube channel. And so I'm sort of experimenting with the freelancer group for my non-law firm YouTube channel. And then I'm learning things about like live streaming, and I'm making mistakes, figuring out some stuff, and I'm practicing there while I'm still also trying to like make valuable content for potential clients so that I can finally start doing stuff with my law firm. But I do think the future of like getting clients and also having content that you could record once and have it repeatable in other places is video. And if your law firm does not have a YouTube channel, there's been a recent update to YouTube where you can get your YouTube channel is youtube.com/@ and then you could get your firm name, and you could try to do that. And so I highly recommend you do that. I have 4 because I also have the @Gmail accounts for like my different things that I do. So I have subscription attorney @Gmail, and I have subscriptionattorney.com. So one of them I have @subscriptionattorney, and another one I have is @thesubscriptionattorney, just in case. I didn't want anyone else to take that one. So it's something that you should go out and do right now. That goes into the conversation of getting your domain, get your social media handles. Like you want to create a cohesive brand around your firm, right? Make sure the social media handles are available. Subscription Attorney was too long for Twitter, so I have Subatty, SUBATTY, and I haven't really done anything with that yet, so it's also part of my content strategy. But because of that, I also decided I should be proactive and get SUBATTY.com. And so I do, and I have that. And so since it's the abbreviation of Subscription Attorney, sometimes when I'm giving somebody my email, Subscription Attorney is a mouthful. And so I just give them SUBATTY.com, and then they can get in touch with me, and it responds with my email, which goes back to another thing I love about Google Workspace is email aliases. So while you want to be ethical, you don't want to tell people that you have a multiple person shop if you're a true solo. Like I have aliases set up that are support@subscriptionattorney.com, request@subscriptionattorney.com, finances@subscriptionattorney.com. And you could set up like 100 something aliases through just like one domain. And you could also do multiple domains. So I have all of those as well at SUBATTY.com, right? So you can, and at least when it comes to email organization, that is, you could easily search that email address if something went to that, and you could see all the support emails, all the request emails, all the finance-related emails. So whenever you subscribe to a new thing, like a new software thing for your law firm, you could do finance@lawfirmname.com, and then you could very quickly find all the email receipts, right? So, these are like little hacks for your law firm to make it easier to run so you're not spending 20 minutes searching for that email, like having things like that. And speaking of email inbox organization, I have 3 folders. I have inbox, I have follow-up, and I have archive. And that's it. I try to stay out of
impressive.
I try to stay out of my inbox. And so for this big client that I have, I do have a filter that automatically categorizes them into a separate folder because I am doing a lot of work for them. But I very rarely have to go in there, right? Because think about how often are you actually going into your folders? Can you have a more efficient way that you operate your business than just being in email folders all day? I have a client portal. I use SweetDash. It only costs me $130 a year. I do have a deal on that. I think the one I'm using right now is $150 a year. It's kind of like a blank slate. It's kind of like Notion. You get in, it's just a white page, and you have to customize it, but it's all no code. You spend some time doing that, and it's going to be a lot cheaper than using a Clio. And you could integrate it with Stripe, and you could power subscriptions and all their flat fee pricing, and it's really easy. There's secure messaging with 2-factor authentication so that your messages with your clients are actually secure, unlike email, which is unencrypted. So, and if you're going to be texting with your clients, Signal is encrypted texting. And so I do text with clients through Google Voice, but I have been looking at using Signal because it's more encrypted, and we have to preserve attorney-client privilege, right? And the SweetDash is HIPAA compliant too if you turn on 2-factor authentication because doctor offices use them. as a client portal. So, having a client portal software like that is something that could be really useful. They do have like Calendly, Acuity-like features, though they're not as good. But they also have a built-in CRM, and I'm using that for my CRM, which is a client or customer relationship manager, so that you could keep client information, birthdays, kids, dogs, all that stuff, so that you could communicate with them. Instead of doing like happy birthday cards or happy whatever, anniversary, like I would prefer to do like a happy anniversary card, like do something different. So like on your anniversary of them first hiring you, send them a thank you or send them a, hey, happy anniversary, right? So everyone gets Happy New Year's, everyone gets all those cards. Like do a holiday other people don't do, or do like your relationship with them anniversary is a good way to maintain clients. I found Nextdoor. I've done some Nextdoor spend for marketing is really good. It's at the cheapest level. It's $3 a day, super affordable. You already know everyone that you're marketing to is a verified person because they sent a postcard to them. So every single person on Nextdoor is a verified person who's in your area or wherever you decide to market from. The way that it works is you're presented with a map, and wherever your business address is, it's a circle that goes out and out and out and out. So you can control how wide or how narrow your ad is going to go for that. But you could also post for free, just like other social media platforms. You could do as many free posts through your business account on Nextdoor. But Nextdoor recently launched an events tab where you can now do events and post them or at least post that you have an event on Nextdoor. So in my content marketing plan is do Zoom, do a Zoom event, but post it on Nextdoor for contract negotiations. I have a planned talk on, answering the question, should you use a bill of sale when you buy something or sell something on Nextdoor, right? I mean, the answer is yes, but how to do that, right? So ask questions that and pay attention to what's happening on Nextdoor. Ask, and then from a legal perspective, if you could serve that, host an event on Nextdoor or do an ad on Nextdoor, $3 a day, real cheap when it comes to ad spend, and there's not a lot of lawyers who are doing that right now. So that's where I've
super
been able to get some
smart.
clients.
I'm gonna steal your idea, Matthew. I'm doing that.
All right. So
next week.
Now you and I are at least teaching each other things.
Yes.
So we're getting some value from this too.
I think that's a really important point. Talking, if you are going to jump in, which I think is where I started, not only for the substantive maybe side of things, but for the business side, surround yourself, get in connection, get in community with other small business owners so that you can say, hey, Matthew, how's it going? It's been a year. What's been going on? What's your challenges? And then he goes, I've been posting on Nextdoor and doing events. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I should do that. Right. So that community, we don't get in law school. No one teaches you how to run a business. And then you get out and you're like, how do I figure this out? So it is just really important to connect with people who can share those ideas and learn from each other.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Lauren, you mentioned your law firm. Where can people find that, and where can people find a different practice?
Yeah, so my law firm is mylifelawyer.com. Like I said, I practice in Colorado, but do provide all flat fee, affordable pricing, which is all on my website. And then if you are interested in learning how to optimize your law firm for growth and enjoyment, check out A Different Practice at adifferentpractice.com.
Yeah, excellent. And my name's Mathew Kerbis. I'm the subscription attorney. Obviously, connect with Lauren and I on LinkedIn if you haven't already.
Yes, please.
And since we're hosting this audio event, and my law firm is subscriptionattorney.com, where all my prices are also on my website. I very much have designed the anti-law firm website, so it's very much not like any other law firm website that you'll ever go to. There's a very intentional potential client journey that I want to put people through. And I make it easy to sign up to be a client right from my website. I still have to, if you read the disclaimer, I still have to conduct a conflicts check, which I do. But my biggest takeaway from my website that I wish I would have learned in the beginning was I have a floating button where on any page, someone could click that button and schedule a time to talk to me. That's an intro call. And I make that the first button on my page because I started to get weekly signups for potential clients when I made it really easy to sign up with me. And I restrict the time. So I'm not getting those scheduled calls at any random time of day. I controlled that through Calendly, but that was a really simple embed code on card using Calendly. So that's my takeaway from that website. So highly recommend you check out my website. But then if you want to learn more about just the innovative things that Lauren is doing and that other lawyers are doing with legal services and how they're disrupting the billable hour, my podcast is called Law Subscribed. It's on every podcasting app and even some of the ones you've never heard about because I made sure that it's there. And you could also go to lawsubscribe.com, click on the podcast tab and click on whichever service you like to use for your podcast and subscribe to it there. So with that, any final takeaways from you, Lauren?
Just to dive in, if you've been thinking about it, it really is fantastic. I wouldn't change being a solo or opening my own business for anything. It is challenging. There are definitely days I question my sanity, but overall would not change it. And I think if you want to have an impact on your community, control your life a lot more, have freedom, and really just love the practice of law again, being a solo or even a small firm running your own business is really the key to doing that.
Yeah, I love it. We're not going to get better than that.
All right, I hope y'all found that conversation enlightening, inspiring, maybe got some of your own questions answered. If you have any more questions, if you heard something that sparked an idea or you've wanted to dig in more, please let us know. We will be happy to feature it in an upcoming episode where we can answer it directly. So if you have any questions, send them to us by email, either at hello@adifferentpractice.com or leave us a voice memo. A link to leave a voice memo is at the bottom of the show description wherever you get your podcasts. We're here to be a resource for you and help you continue to build a practice you love. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, keep building. I'm over here giving you a virtual high five because you just finished another episode of A Different Practice. For more from this episode, head over to adifferentpractice.com/podcast for show notes and links to resources. If you found this episode helpful, let me know by leaving a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you're looking for even more practical tools to optimize your law practice for growth and enjoyment, be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter. The link is waiting for you at adifferentpractice.com/subscribe. I can't wait for you to tune in next time. Until then, keep building a different practice.